Who was Jack LaLanne? Jack LaLanne was essentially the St. Paul to Paul Bragg's Jesus. He was born Francois Henry, in quotations, Jack LaLanne. He was an American fitness and nutrition guru and motivational speaker. He described himself as being a sugarholic. Apparently he couldn't live without sugar and a junk food junkie until he was 15. He also had behavioral problems, but turned his life around after listening to a public lecture about the benefits of good nutrition by health food pioneer Paul Bragg. During his career, he came to believe that the country's overall health depended on the health of its population. Well, that's true with any country. The health of the collective depends on the health of the individual, because the collective is made out of the individuals. He referred to physical culture and nutrition as the salvation of America. Okay? That's not far off. I think it very well is. Okay? He died at the age of 96. He was a fitness expert, television host, inventor, entrepreneur, motivational speaker. This is obviously his Wikipedia page, by the way. Decades before health and fitness began being promoted by celebrities like Jane Fonda and Richard Simmons, LaLanne was already widely recognized for publicly preaching the health benefits of regular exercise and good diet. He published numerous books on fitness and hosted the fitness television program The Jack LaLanne Show from 1951 to 1985. As early as 1936, at the age of 21, he opened one of the nation's first fitness gyms in Oakland, California, which became a prototype for dozens of similar gyms bearing his name. One of his 1950s television exercise programs was aimed toward women, whom he also encouraged to join his health clubs. He invented a number of exercise machines, including the leg extension machine, the Smith machine, and also weight selectors. LaLanne also gained recognition for his success as a bodybuilder, as well as his prodigious feats of strength. Arnold Schwarzenegger exclaimed that Jack LaLanne's an animal after a 54-year-old Jack LaLanne beat a then 21-year-old Arnold Schwarzenegger in an informal contest. On the occasion of Jack LaLanne's death, Schwarzenegger credited LaLanne for being an apostle for fitness by inspiring billions all over the world to live healthier lives. Actually, Schwarzenegger proclaimed that Jack LaLanne should honestly be sainted. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but as he said, to be sainted, you have to commit 3 miracles, healing miracles. Well, Jack LaLanne, he said, did that prior to people getting sick. He helped people before they got sick. Billions of people before they got sick. The other thing that you have to understand about Jack LaLanne, the other joke that Schwarzenegger made, and I thought it was funny, he said he looked up LaLanne in the French dictionary and found out it actually means do some push-ups, you lazy bastard. So that's Schwarzenegger's joke, not mine. Early life, LaLanne was born in San Francisco, California. Both entered Okay, he grew up in Bakersfield, California, and later moved with his family to Berkeley, California. His father died at the age of 58, which LaLanne attributed to coronary thrombosis and cirrhosis of the liver. In his book, The Jack LaLanne Way to Vibrant Health, LaLanne wrote that as a boy, he was addicted to sugar and junk food. He had violent episodes directed against himself and others, describing himself as a miserable kid. It was like hell, he said. Besides having a bad temper, LaLanne also suffered from headaches and bulimia and temporarily dropped out of school at age 14. The following year, at age 15, he heard health pioneer Paul Bragg give a talk on health and nutrition, focusing on the evils of meat and sugar. Bragg's message had a powerful influence on LaLanne, who then changed his life and started focusing on his diet and exercise. In his own words, he was born again, and besides his new focus on nutrition, he began working out daily. Although while serving during World War II as a pharmacist mate first class at the Sun Valley Naval Convalescent Hospital, LaLanne stated that he started in bodybuilding at age 13. Describing his change of diet, LaLanne stated, "I had to take my lunch alone to the football field to eat so no one would see me eating my raw vegetables, whole bread, raisins, and nuts. You don't know the crap I went through." And that's the thing. Back then, when LaLanne was a vegetarian, LaLanne did not remain a vegetarian. But back then, when LaLanne was a vegetarian, I mean, people see the crap I get for being a vegetarian right now. But back then, in the 1930s and 40s, can you imagine the load of crap he had to put up with? So, LaLanne found two men working at his fitness career. In 36, he opened the nation's LaLanne designed the leg extension machines, pulley machines, using cables, blah, blah, blah. LaLanne's, a lot of this is just repeating what it said earlier. LaLanne presented fitness and exercise advice on television for 34 years. Personal health routine. LaLanne blamed, now remember I said this, you have to look for universals. Universals. What is universally true? What can be universally applied to the cultivation of good health and longevity? LaLanne blamed overly processed foods for many health problems. For most of his life, Jack was mostly vegetarian, while including fish in his evening meal. In his later years, he appeared to advocate a mostly meatless diet that included fish and took vitamin supplements. He ate 2 meals a day and avoided snacks. His diet actually seems very similar to the diet promoted by Walter Longo, although he did eat a lot more protein than Longo suggested. His breakfast after working out for 2 hours consisted of hard-boiled egg whites, a cup of broth, oatmeal with soy milk, and seasonal fruit for dinner. He and his wife typically ate raw vegetables, egg whites, and fish. He did not drink coffee. When exercising, LaLanne worked out repetitively with weights until he experienced muscle fatigue and whatever muscle group. Now, he was actually notorious for using lighter weights at high repetitions. Okay, so exercise, okay. LaLanne, okay, so he would always train till failure. LaLanne moved from exercise to exercise without stopping. That's, circuit training. To contradict critics who thought this would leave him tightly muscle-bound and uncoordinated, LaLanne liked to demonstrate one-handed balancing. His home contained 2 gyms and a pool that he used daily. He continued with his 2-hour workouts into his 90s, which also included walking. He stated, "If I died, people would say, 'Oh, look at Jack LaLanne died. He didn't practice what he preached.'" And that's actually a funny thing, because I'm going to bring that up when I talk about Dr. Atkins, who was another guy that inspired me. When asked about sex, LaLanne had a standard joke saying that despite their advanced age, he and his wife still made love almost every night, almost on Monday, almost on Tuesday, almost on Wednesday. Views on food additives. LaLanne often stressed that artificial food additives, drugs, and processed foods contributed to making people mentally and physically ill. As a result, he writes, many people turn to alcohol and drugs to deal with symptoms of ailments, noting that a stream of aches and pains seems to encompass us as we get older. He refers to the human bloodstream as a river of life, which is polluted by junk foods loaded with preservatives, salt, sugar, and artificial flavorings. Relying on evidence from the President's Council on Physical Fitness, he also agreed that many of our aches and pains come from a lack of physical activity. I can actually attest to this. When I went from teaching karate to working in mental health, simply the act of not acting, the act of sitting behind a desk and sitting behind the wheel of a car all day, every day, made me listless, sucked me of all my energy. I had no energy, and I was just not I was not myself. I'll just put it that way, and I had put on quite a bit of weight. LaLanne states that people will resort to various drugs. We look for crutches such as sleeping pills, pep pills, alcohol, cigarettes, and so on. And that's actually true too. I did not take up smoking until I was homeless, interestingly enough. And I only smoked for 5 years, but that's interesting. LaLanne was married to his second wife, Elaine, for 5 decades. They had 3 children, a daughter, Yvonne LaLanne, from his first marriage, a son named Dan Doyle from Elaine's first marriage, and a son named John LaLanne together. Yvonne is a chiropractor in California. LaLanne died of respiratory failure due to pneumonia at his home, January 23rd. Now, what can we learn from that? He died of respiratory failure due to pneumonia. Well, that tells me that you want to build a strong set of lungs. You want to use things like a spirometer. You want to do your breathing exercises. Paul Bragg, LaLanne's mentor, had wrote a book called Building Powerful Breath, or something like that, or Power Breathing. Check that book out. LaLanne's feats, these accounts are not necessarily entirely accurate. Okay. This is some of the stuff that he did in 1954. Swam and tire. Swam. This is the one that he's most famous for. 1955, swam from Alcatraz Island to Fisherman's Wharf. 1956, set what was claimed a world record of 1,033 push-ups in 23 minutes. 1957, swam the Golden Gate Channel while towing a 2,500-pound cabin cruiser. 1958, maneuvered a paddleboard nonstop from Farallon Islands to the San Francisco shore. 1959, at age 45, did 1,000 push-ups and 1,000 chin-ups in 1 hour. 1 hour, 22 minutes, to promote the Jack LaLanne Show. In 1974, at age 60, for the second time, he swam from Alcatraz to Fisherman's Wharf. Again, he was handcuffed, but this time he was also shackled and towed a 1,000-pound boat, according to his obituary in Los Angeles Times in 2011, and his website, however, according to an account of this event published the day after it occurred in Los Angeles Times, written by LaLanne was neither handcuffed nor shackled, blah, blah, blah. 1975, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's get into what he did.